Welcome back to Exposed. Before the break, we were talking about racism and we mentioned racism amongst our own people. So, as we were talking about with the whole like taking your band card out and, people looking at you because you don't look really native, do you guys, well, I was going to say, do you guys feel that way? But I guess, I'll let you answer.
Yeah, definitely, like all the time, because it's not only that non-natives are like question my, I guess, nativeness, but there's people from Kahnawake and like other natives that are like, well, are you really native? Like, I remember like growing up, I always felt like, I guess, envious of people who have darker skin, who have dark hair, and now it's like, well, I have blonde hair, like, but that like I just thought it was weird that like all throughout my like younger days, like I always felt envious of them because I was made fun of for like having lighter skin, for having blonde hair, blue eyes. Mm-hmm. It's called like, I'm sure both of you have like received all the names.
Well, I was called white boy for a while, for a few years, by one individual. I believe I was around 10, 11 years old, I guess, but this happened in town all the time. I never actually got that in school. I've always went to school outside the reserve. Other than that, I've never gotten anything. Someone, very surprisingly, in high school actually said I look native, whereas some people waiting for the bus with me, he said they didn't. I'm like,
isn't that such a weird
what are you
thing?
talking about?
I've gotten that too, where someone, like, I'll tell them, or they'll ask me, where are you from? And I'm like, oh, I'm from Kahnawake, I'm Mohawk. And they'll be like, yeah, I can really see that. And I'm like, dude, where were you my whole life when I was a kid?
Yeah.
You
could have been backing me up.
Because, like, when I was a kid, I remember when I first started going to Mad Group, I was walking outside, and there was a couple of girls. They were young girls at the time. They were yelling at me to get out of here and go home. And I started crying. I was like, these girls were younger than me, and I've been living here my whole life. And I felt so unwanted. But, I mean, at the same time, right, kids are full of ignorance. And so I kind of chalked it up to that and kind of let it go.
But that's what I mean. You see the same type of behavior from people who are adults. I mean, people who are our age and people who are well into their 50s that will, like, I mean, I think the perfect example is when you weren't on the show yet, but in the fall we were talking about membership, Taylor and Hogan and myself. And afterwards, I mean, people don't like what we have to say about membership, but they targeted me right away, saying, "Who does she, like? She doesn't have a right to say that because she's like some white trashy, like, etc." And like, like it still happens, like, among adults.
Well, do you ever feel like you still need to? Well, okay, I guess not still, because I don't know if you've ever done it. But have you ever felt like you needed to prove to people that you were Mohawk, that you lived here, like you belong here? Did you ever feel the need to prove that?
Not really, no. But it's just always, I don't know, there.
Do you ever feel that?
No, not really, mostly because all my transactions take place outside of the community, other than at the theater, which, everyone is welcome there. So I've never had that pressure.
Yeah. And, I forget what I was going to say. But, continue.
Well, no, I'm just thinking along the lines, because I know some people might take it really personally and feel like they need to continually prove, themselves.
When they start to, like, put on the heavy town accent and
I mean, for me, I did deal with some racism like that when I was growing up, but as I started to involve myself in the community and start doing other things and meeting people, then, you get to know people and they start... It's that stigma is gone. Like, even though I don't completely fit the stereotype, I'm still associated with being here. And it's unfortunate because so many, like, I like to look at, like here in Kahnawake, how we're always trying to fight against the stereotypes of, being all of these things and how we're different and how people should want to learn about Aboriginal culture. And yet some people can't even accept our own people. Mm-hmm. Because they don't fit the stereotypes. And for trying to break stereotypes, it's unfortunate some people can't do that.
Yeah.
And it just makes me sad because I've worked with all kinds of people from all different walks of life and all different places, and I personally feel open to them. But when someone isn't open to me, I don't so much take it personally anymore. I just kind of feel bad that they can't see past those kinds of things.
To me, what I find kind of bothers me is that it's it's like when you know when you get like the racist, ignorant comments from people, like, you know, if like that person who sent me a message calling me like white and trashy, but like I know not to take it seriously, but at the same time there's people who are your own family who they don't say it like mean-hearted, but they like where I don't know how many times like I'm walking down the road, like whatever, going to work, and one of my family members like rolls down the window and screams like nice legs, and like I'll have shorts on, and like they're, you know, all white and like not tanned yet.
Yeah, insults do. Language can hurt people a lot.
Yeah. I know like my family members don't, they're just teasing, but at the same time they don't realize how it affects me, like being like growing up the whole time, like I don't know.
It's like that for a lot of things too. Like some people that are overweight, like if you poke at fun at their weight and they just kind of laugh it off all the time, but it really gets to them if you keep going sometimes. And just like anything, it starts to bother you.
Well, I have something to say about what you said a while ago about not being able to accept our own people. It reminded me of my Native history class and how for about 300 years after contact, Native society was adapting to European implements and ideologies, and now in this day and age it has obviously continued, and we have obviously adapted to the point our lifestyle is not the same as it used to be. We've adapted, we've evolved. We're not going to be natives like we were 500 years ago. We're simply not. But we're also, I don't want to put any name on it. We're not white people, but we are Europeanized. But we're really trying to retain our culture. What we have to look at is many aspects of that culture that maintain our native identity even in our Europeanized state.
Yeah, I mean, like nothing, like what's on the outside doesn't have an effect on whether you're Mohawk or not, or in native, like in general native or not. I mean, we don't all look like Pocahontas, and like that's a fact. And I think some of the people need to get that through their heads a bit more.
Yeah, no, Westernization has done a lot of things and changed and shaped the way Aboriginal people are today. Like you said, you know, when just Europeans coming into the country, it changed a whole lot for us. And, you know, that's why I am who I am today, because otherwise there wouldn't be any French Canadian women marrying men, and maybe I'd be brown. You know what I mean? And I at the same time, you know, but you think about it, right? If that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here today. So I'm very proud of who I am in terms of being an Aboriginal person. But then there's also, you know, like, yeah, there's a lot of sucky things about racism and stereotypes and stuff like that. But a lot of good has come out of the changes that have happened in the past. There are a lot of negative effects, but now we have to learn to deal with where we are today, you know?
Yeah. So I guess with that, we'll take a quick commercial break and we'll be back with more Exposed.